Welcome to another edition of the Backyard Professor videos. I'm Kerry Schertz, the Backyard Professor. You are seeing a beautiful Idaho sunrise. It's early Saturday morning. I believe it's like April 13th or something like that, I don't know. Anyway, that's what an Idaho sunrise looks like. Let me adjust this camera and I'm going to tell you something about the Book of Mormon that I find very interesting. Gotta have it in my... There we go. That's better. I don't know if you can see me or not, and believe me, you're probably more interested in the sunrise, I certainly am, than watching my ugly mug. But anyway, yeah, that's a beautiful sunrise. The Tetons are just over that way. Just barely. Well, 100 miles away, but the sun's up over this part of the horizon, and it's quite a beautiful cloud scene also. Looks like I've got my camera tilted goofy also. Now that's too bad. Let me see if I can adjust that real quick. Hey, there we go. The technology we have. Let me see if I can adjust that a little bit. There we go. That's a little more beautiful. Well, that way you won't have to worry about looking at my ugly mug. On the, let's see if I can step back. Oh, yeah, you don't want to see me anyway. You look at the sunset. I'm going to read something real interesting to you. This is from John W. Welch and Stephen D. Ricks. This is on King Benjamin's speech that ye may learn wisdom. 600-page book, 650-page book on King Mosiah's farewell speech in the Book of Mormon. There was a scholar named Kurtz, William S. Kurtz. I'm in chapter 4, page 89, 90, 91, so on and so forth. There was a scholar, William Kurtz, studied a large number of farewell speeches found in the Bible and in classical literature from the Greco-Roman world. And he found several common elements with these speeches, 20 of them, and he noted whether they're statesmen, orations, whatever reason that the people were giving a farewell speech. The man was ready to die, so he was giving a farewell speech to the group of the people. There was a common theme in all of them. King Benjamin's speech is a beautiful, traditional, ancient farewell address. Now, this is impressive. Kurt's study wasn't until our century, long after Joseph Smith died. The invitation seems natural, if not irresistible, to analyze Benjamin's discourse in terms of Kurtz's list of typical farewell speech elements. Kurtz has a lot of the ancient elements. The summons, he calls the people together so that they can receive his last instructions. The speaker's own mission or example, a description of his life and his calling, following a commandment that his followers should do as he has done. Then there's the innocence and discharge of duty. The speaker declares that he has done his best and fulfilled his obligations. He has accomplished what he intended to do and cannot be held liable for the people's actions in the future. The impending death, his announcement of his impending death. But the speaker shows courage and an acceptance of his fate. Sometimes he commands his soul to the God or the gods. Then there's an exhortation. The people are called to remember the teachings that the speaker had previously been given and obey the commands that he had been given during his lifetime and during his service to the people. Then there's warnings and final injunctions. Then there's blessings, there's farewell gestures, tasks for the successors to do after the gentleman is gone. There's a theological review of history of the past. They rehearse events going back to the beginning of the world. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Isn't that a beautiful sunset we're watching? Or a sunrise, I should say. Wow, what a great sunrise. It's a lot better than looking at my ugly mug, huh? Yeah, woohoo! Anyway, then there's a revelation of the future in the farewell address. There's promises, there's an appointment or a reference to a successor. There's the bewailing or the loss. He mourns his friends and his friends mourn him. There's a future degeneration. There's predictions and dire warnings about what's going to happen to the future. Then there's a covenant renewal and a sacrifice. Then they provide for those who will survive. They require comfort and guidance after his death. Then there's a consolation to the inner circle. Often the speaker attempts to comfort his closest associates. See that? Remember, Jesus did this at the Last Supper, didn't he? Yeah. And then there's the didactic speech. And then there's the approach to death. Now, King Benjamin's speech is as least as complete of a farewell address as any of the 20 examples that Kurtz found in the ancient Greco-Roman world and in the ancient world. It's very interesting that 16 elements of King Benjamin's speech occurs in the Book of Mormon, and the different elements of these speeches are not all present at every farewell address, but there has been found now a typical pattern from the ancient world. He says Kurtz has singled out 4 of his 20 elements as fundamental characteristics of addresses in the Old Testament and the Old Testament Apocrypha, as opposed to the Greco-Roman tradition. He says the speaker's assertion of innocence and fulfillment of his mission, the designation of tasks for successors, a theological review of history, and the revelation of future events. All 4 of these characteristically Israelite elements appear prominently in Benjamin's speech. Every one of them. Now, this is fascinating. The Book of Mormon hits this one right on target. It is perfect. So, the reason I'm bringing this, and of course, like I say, they've got a 600-page book examining all of the ideas of these, the sacramental prayers, the prophetic lawsuit, an ancient Israelite festival context. This is interesting. They found that King Benjamin's speech fits into an ancient Israelite festival context. While the Book of Mormon never mentions Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, or any other religious holiday specifically by name, several reasons suggest the reason for this omission. The ancient writers may have assumed the readers would naturally understand. There comes the sun. Isn't that beautiful? A person does not have to say the word Christmas to refer implicitly to that special day. Even a casual mention of wise men or decorating a tree suggests Christmas to the people. Maybe they just assumed. Alternatively, Mormon may have found such points to be irrelevant to his purposes, since he was writing after the time of the law of Moses was fulfilled anyway. So there's indirect attention in the Book of Mormon for festivals, however, according to Terence Zink and John W. Welch. It's kind of interesting how those festivals occur with the, and then there's the assembly and the atonement aspects of these festivals also, with this farewell address. I think it's a masterful oration that this is put in the Book of Mormon in King Benjamin's speech. We are very fortunate to have this, but I believe based on the recent scholarship and analysis of ancient festivals, that the argument that the Book of Mormon has nothing going in favor of it, either archaeologically or historically, I do believe that argument simply false. I hope you've enjoyed the sunrise here in Idaho with me. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but it's been too darn cold. Thanks for watching this Backyard Professor video. I shall return with more here and give you more to think about.